At this time, I'm going to ask Donna to come up and share her thoughts about State Question 759, and then we'll take questions as well.
Thank you. Now, this question is worded in such a way that it might lead voters to think they are actually voting against racial, ethnic, or gender discrimination. But as Senator Johnson pointed out, all it actually seeks to accomplish is to abolish affirmative action in our state. Now, to me, this seems like a blatant attempt to play upon prejudices and fears, and I do not believe that it is a coincidence that we're seeing this on the ballot during this election year. Now, my own personal opinions and questioning of some motives aside, I think that we need to look at this question, what it actually seeks to accomplish and what the consequences would be. Also, as Senator Johnson pointed out, affirmative action is not a quota system. It is already illegal in our state for anyone to base their hiring solely on race, ethnicity, or gender. But affirmative action can be a tool, one tool that we can use to help level the playing field. Now, what it does is it seeks to encourage those in charge of hiring to reach out to minority communities, to promote diversity within their workplace. And it seeks to level the playing field for those who have historically and, yes, currently experienced discrimination. Now, those opposed to affirmative action often claim that it is no longer necessary because minorities have the legal system, and if someone is discriminated against, then they can sue. Well, I think that most of us realize that racism and sexism are very difficult to prove. Many people who have been the victims of racism or sexism aren't even aware at the time. It's not like you walk into a job interview and you walk out and they say, I am not hiring you because you're black, or I am not hiring you because you're a woman. It's not that obvious. If it was, then yes, we could prosecute it. We could go through the legal system and have that recourse at our disposal. But it's not that easy. These acts of discrimination are sometimes so subversive or hidden that they're almost impossible to prove. And so we need affirmative action, and we need anything that will help us have an open dialogue, a direct conversation about these issues and how they're affecting our community. Because racism and sexism are not going away. As much as we would love it, as much of a blessing as it would be for our state and our nation, this fear and this bigotry is too well ingrained in some within our society. And so it's something that we need to continue to face head on. Now, I recently had a forum down in Ardmore sponsored by their branch of the NAACP. And it was actually a little bit of a different environment there. I was the lone Democrat on the panel there, and we had Senator Owensby and Representative Simpson. And they argued in favor of abolishing affirmative action. And so I'd like to share with you a couple of their arguments and my response that I had. Owensby mentioned that it is going to cost taxpayers more if we continue to have affirmative action in our state because companies with black employees or minority-owned companies can charge more and take more of our tax dollars. And I'm very glad that Senator Johnson brought up the fact that $0 have gone to minority companies for our roads and bridges. So that was an outright lie. We are not paying more. This is not something that is going to cost the taxpayers more money. This is something that some of our state leaders are using because they know that anytime you mention taxes, it fires people up. And so they're going to combine people's fear and prejudice of minorities with their fear and prejudice against possibly paying more in taxes. And it's just a blatant lie. Now the other one, and this one got the crowd pretty fired up too, is I believe this one may have been Owensby as well, referred to the fact that we have a black president as proof that racism is not as much of an issue. And that was exactly my response. It was very difficult for me I was shaking my head and I just thought, how do you even reply to that? That is such a ludicrous statement. So I think that it's very important that we vote against this ban, that we encourage everyone that we know to vote against this ban. And I wanted to make one other quick note. Our state government recently eliminated the Oklahoma Human Rights Coalition. And this is yet another example of how little some of our elected officials understand or care to understand about discrimination in our state. And in response to this action by our state government, the Oklahoma Democratic Party, under the guidance of State Chair Wallace Collins, is working to form the Oklahoma Human Rights Alliance. This new organization will serve as a networking and advocacy tool for minority communities across the state. So our party is responding. Our state, some of the people leading our state have let us down. But the Democratic Party is stepping up, and we are trying to do what our state should already be doing. We cannot allow the clock to be turned back. We had, historically, these battles in the past where our civil rights activists, we had black community leaders, we had women, the suffragettes, people that bled, were beaten, were imprisoned, so that we could have the rights, and so that everyone could have that level playing field. And we honor them by voting and making sure that our rights are stood up for. And we honor them by continuing their battles and realizing that, yes, things are better than they were in the past, but it doesn't mean that we can stop moving forward. Thank you.